Call to order, Board of Zoning Appeals, Monday, November 14th, 2022. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the October 24th, 2022 meeting. So moved. Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Hall. All those in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next up, any special requests or continuances? No. Seeing none, move on to findings of fact. First up is BZA 2022-033, the use variance for Russell Brown on behalf of Quick Trip.
Chairman, in consideration of statutory criteria, move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-033.
Second. Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. BZA 2022-034, development standards variance for Russell Brown on behalf of Quick Trip.
Mr. Chairman, in consideration of the statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-034.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Moore. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And BZA 2022-037, development standards variance for Rick Bartlett for the property at 1235 South State Road 135.
Mr. Chairman, in consideration of statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-037.
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Moore. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Any old, we do have old business. We need a motion for the ratification of approval of adoption. Ratification of the approval of adoption of the BZA order and findings on docket PZV 2022-011, the administrative appeal of Jeffrey Chipman.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Polder. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, at the same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Any other old business? Seeing none is old business from the floor. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Up first is BZA 2022-038, the development standards variance by petitioner Central 9 Career Center, requesting relief from various sections of the Unified Development Ordinance. There are 4 under the welding lab and 2 under the building addition. All those wishing to speak to this docket, please stand, raise your right hand. Oh, before we do that, are all the notices, receipts, and orders and everything here?
They are in order and in the file, and for this petition, if I may recommend, if you have no objections, that you treat the buildings separately, but do them grouped unless there is something that you would specifically like to object to out of the variances to help with the meeting timeline.
And a certified copy of the comprehensive plan and the unified development ordinance have been submitted into the record for the file as well.
All right. Now, all those speaking to the docket, please stand. Be sworn in by our secretary.
Swear to perjury. That's my good.
All right. Approach the podium, sir, and tell us your name and address for the record.
Hey, my name is Gary Fisher. Lancer and Associates Architects. 427 South College in Indianapolis. Need a personal address?
Nope, that I don't think so, right, Sean?
No.
Okay. So, Mr. Fisher, I'll have you. I know you're here for 6 independent variances. There are 4 tied to the welding lab,
Correct.
and then there are 2 tied to the primary building. As you heard, the plan staff say we'll treat them as 2. one of all four, one for the 4 for the lab and one for the 2 for the primary building as we go through criteria and such. So I guess first off, tell us about the welding lab and what you're seeing.
In the welding lab, I don't know if there's a but it's back remote from US 31 on the site. It's a freestanding building that will function just as a welding lab. And there were 4 requests for variance for that. First one, varying from a, go through these in order or?
Yeah, if you, well, I can go through. So you've got a request to allow the percentage of masonry to be lowered from 15% to 0%, correct? And then you have a request to allow metal cladding in excess of 20%. And then a request to, on the front elevation, to reduce the transparency from 10% to 0%. And then to allow concrete block as a building material on the new building, on the lab. And those are the 4 in question.
Those are, yes.
And do you have your statutory criteria, your statement of reasons?
Yes.
If you would, let's go through those, and you can answer. I mean, would you agree that your answers will apply to all 4, or do you have anything specific to
I
any of
think
the
each
4?
one's a little different. But
Okay.
they're generally the same. As far as the masonry is concerned, the design and without the masonry in this building, without brick masonry, be consistent with the surrounding buildings and consistent with the whole development area or the Central 9 area.
Okay.
And that, of course, the elimination of the block or brick means that there's no excess amounts of metal. Is the other variance, again, that's consistent with the area. There's buildings in this area, there are pole barns, other industrial type buildings on the Central 9 site. And these were done in part due to the fixed budgets that these projects had. Adding the masonry and increasing the masonry and deleting the metal panels required some elimination of other things that were more important to the.
Mr. Fisher, is your microphone on? We're having a little trouble picking up.
I don't know.
Oh, it's on. Yeah, it is on.
Closer.
Okay, it's just not picking up quite. So we do need to go through, for the record, the statutory criteria. So if you could answer each of these appropriately to accommodate each of the 4 requests.
Item number 1 of the statutory criteria for the masonry standard is the design without brick is consistent with the design of the surrounding buildings, both on and off the petitioner's site.
And that's for the approval not being injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. And then the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
Building is to the east of the site and cannot clearly be seen from US 31. Building design is consistent with the surrounding buildings, both on and off the petitioner's site.
And then strict application of the terms of zoning ordinance would result in practical difficulties in use of the property because.
Because the petitioner's construction budget was fixed due to the nature of the facility, the addition of the brick would adversely affect the center's ability to fund other building components that are more closely related to the functions of the building.
And then number 4, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation.
That's correct.
The second variance was to increase the metal cladding in excess of 20%. Do you, from from standpoint of the approval not being injurious to public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community, is there anything you want to add for that?
No, it's essentially the same response.
And the same for the area adjacent to the property,
That's correct, yes.
and the strict application of the terms of zoning ordinance resulting in practical difficulties.
That would be the same practical.
And then what about from reducing the front transparency from 10% to 0%? Anything unique to that?
Yeah, the design, well, again, it's consistent, but in addition, since this is a welding lab, the inclusion of glass is reflects with what's going on inside with the welding booths that they'll be students be operating.
And so from a strict application standpoint, you noted that the exterior walls are lined with welding booths. As you mentioned, the extra glass would be detrimental to the interior space use.
That would be correct.
And then number 4, allowing the split face block on the front elevation. Anything unique to that?
Yeah, that's the reason the lock is included there is because it's a semi-enclosure for the bottles of welding gas. Need to be separated by code from surrounding construction. So they were including that as a barrier to shield the building in the event of a fire or issue with welding gas.
And then the next 2 are in relation to the existing primary building.
Yes.
And the first one is increase the metal cladding in excess of 20%. And then let's talk through the statutory criteria there. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
The front facade appearance, and this is the part of the building that's on space 31. So it is a little more visible than the rest, but the front facade is designed to blend with the existing building that's there. To maintain a sort of consistent appearance throughout the building.
okay. And the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
Of the fact that the building will blend with the existing facade or building. And that on the front, we've actually increased the break beyond the minimum standard.
okay. And then the strict application of terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in use of the property because
Just it limits the limit on the metal panels, would not allow the addition of actually.
again, the site structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. On the last variance to allow multiple materials on side and rear elevations, anything unique to that when it comes to the
Yeah,
criteria?
it's kind of unusual. What we're requesting variance for is to add masonry instead of just metal panels to the sides and back. Again, to be consistent with the design of the facility and surrounding buildings.
And planning staff, you were favorable, I think, to everything. Do you want to add to that, Mr. Bruce?
Yeah, so I'll turn my mic on. For the front building, that is a building that's going to be visible to the public. This is a building that we really worked with the petitioner to make sure that the addition would match the existing building. If it were to meet our current standards, it would actually not line up with the existing building and cause some hardships there. With the welding lab, it is a little bit different use. When you think about a school, you think more commercial, but it is for welding, and a lot of the transparency really doesn't line up well. I would note that financial hardship is not to be considered. But aside from that, planning didn't have a issue with the petitioner's statement of reasons.
Okay. And you had one proposed condition, which was that the final plan shall substantially conform to the building elevations depicted in Exhibit D.
Yes, if approved.
And you're aware of that, Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Okay.
Our drawings have been revised for that.
Okay.
Pricing on that.
Anything else to add?
so.
Is anyone else here to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, open it up to the board. Mrs. Peters,
No questions?
Mr. King, no question. Mr. Fuller,
No
Mr. Knoll, I'm good. I have no questions either. This all seems to be pretty much in order. I will take a motion to direct the court, or
Evidence of the record.
to admit all the evidence in the record. Thank you. I'm brain fade tonight.
Yeah.
Admit all the evidence into the record.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, the staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the unified development ordinance and comprehensive plan, testimony of the petitioner, city planning staff, and any remonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I'll take a motion on request number 1, which is the petitioner's request for front elevation to allow the percentage of masonry to be lowered from 15% to 0%.
I submit that we approve this motion with the condition that the final plan shall substantially conform to the building elevations depicted in Exhibit A.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. King. To clarify, you just say with the one condition?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So to approve with the condition, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 2 is for the front elevation to allow metal cladding in excess of 20%.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request number 2 with the conditions by the planning staff, or by the
Motion by Mr. Fuller to approve with the one condition, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 3 is for the front elevation to reduce the transparency from 10% to 0%.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve request number 3 with the one condition listed from the staff.
Motion by Mr. King to approve with the one condition, second by Mrs. Peters. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 4 is to allow concrete block as a building material on the new building.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this with following the conditions, this as a one condition listed below.
Motion by Mr. Moll to approve with the one condition, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 5 is for front elevation of the existing building add-on to allow metal cladding in excess of 20%.
Chairman, I motion that we approve this request with the condition that the final plan shall substantially conform to building elevations depicted in Exhibit B.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. And number 6, the front elevation to allow multiple materials on the side and rear elevations on the building addition.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request number 6 with the plans one condition.
Motion by Mr. Fuller to approve with conditions, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take a motion to direct the Corporations Council to draft written findings of fact.
Chairman, having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the Corporation Council's office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance petition under VZA 2022-038. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and the evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a final decision, final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Mr. Fisher, you are welcome to proceed with the planning staff. We will take final action in 2 weeks. Thank you. Yes. Next up is BZA 2022-039, a development standards variance by Timothy Temple, requesting relief from two sections of the Unified Development Ordinance. One is to allow a 6-foot fence in the front yard, and two is for the opacity to allow greater than 50% opacity for a fence located in the front yard. All those wishing to speak, please. Hold on one second. Again, all the notices, affidavits, everything in order.
Yes, they're in order and in the file.
And I have submitted into the record certified copy of the Unified Development Ordinance and also the comprehensive plan.
Now, all those wishing to speak, I'm sorry, all those wishing to speak now stand and be sworn in by our secretary. Name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Timothy Temple. I live at 777 Kensington Park Road, Greenwood.
Okay, Mr. Temple, you have two variances here. Tell us why you're here and what you're looking to do.
I'm just trying to, I'd like to build a 6-foot fence. I guess usually you can build a 6-foot fence from the front of your house backward. But I'd like to build one to the sidewalk, 2 foot or so from the sidewalk. The land beside me sits up 5 or 6 feet. I guess years ago they added a garage. And so when they are standing in the driveway, they can look right down through our bedrooms, right through our house. I have teenage kids, and last year they wouldn't even get in the pool because people were, younger people were standing up in the driveway and everything. So they only got in the pool twice. They was just, they didn't feel comfortable somebody looking at them, And my neighbors have 2 large dogs, Doberman Pinscher, and the dogs aren't mean that I know of. I mean, I love dogs, but my girls are scared to death of dogs. They were puppies then, but they're grown now. But I heard that people are moving, so I don't know what's gonna. I have some pictures I can show you. That's all right.
Yeah, you're absolutely. You can bring them up here and we'll pass them around. Thank you.
It's where the red dotted line is where I'd like the fence at.
Yeah, and that is in the packet we received.
You can see the elevation difference. The city made him actually move those trailers and stuff, and he built it up even higher than what it was before. Now it's even worse than what it was before. But it's a privacy thing more than anything, really. To the truth.
All right, do you have your statement of reasons, your statutory criteria that you submit? So do you have the staff report with you by chance?
I do not.
Do we have a copy of this information?
Yeah, I turned everything to them, but sorry.
No, you're all.
I've never been in one of these.
Absolutely, totally understand. We want to get on the record your reasons for this,
Oh, gotcha.
the statement of reasons,
Okay.
because that
I
is,
thought you guys had that too.
these are what we make our decisions based
Okay.
on. If you turn to, I think it's page 2 there, your variance number 1, the fence height location.
Yes.
And if you would, the answer for approval, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because.
Oh, I put on here, it'd be a very nice quality fence and it would only add value to his property and my property or anybody really. I keep my grass like a golf course if I can, just cause it, looks better. I've got 2 or 3 yards around for free. I mean, just to help people out, just to keep their grass because he actually owned the lawn for a business. And I've got his grass. So, okay.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
It would add value to the whole area if I put a nice fence. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. And also add value to my house. The deputy mayor also told me it would add value to our houses.
And the strict application of terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because.
Due to the high elevation of my neighbor's yard, being restricted to only a 4-foot fence would not be sufficient to screen my property from my neighbor's property and kind of defeats the purpose of even having a fence.
And the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. For the fence opacity, again, it looks like, let's see, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
It'd just be a very nice fence to maintain, fence, and, like I said, it will always add value to the property.
the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
The value of both properties will increase. I try to keep up my lawn, in great shape, but would make everybody's value increase a little bit, I believe, by installing nice fence.
and then a strict application of terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because
They're forced to follow the ordinance and have a fence that is not fully solid. It would not really be able to provide accurate protection from dogs and so on.
Okay.
And actually, my neighbor actually called the police on me for stepping 1 foot over in his yard. So if I get a fence that I cannot see through, it means I gotta work on both sides. Because it'd be like a dog ear fence, I forget what you call it, but one's this way, one's this way, one's this way. You have to install on both sides of the fence. So that's, even I found out later, that's not really, can't really do this in easement. And I've done the encroachment things. That was approved last year.
oh, good, okay. And Mr. Nelson, the staff says that they recommend it with one condition.
Yeah, and if you would like to add, it is a part of our ordinance that no fence shall be located within 2 feet of a public sidewalk. If you feel that that's important to add in there, you're welcome to do so. But we really have no recommendation for this one. Just the petitioner's statement of reasons with the condition.
Okay. The one condition was that the fence should not exceed 6 feet upon installation or during the duration of its existence. So it must be 6 feet or less.
Correct.
And just so I'm clear on the 2 feet from the sidewalk, this is not expected to encroach upon the 2 feet of the sidewalk.
No, it's not. But if you wanted to clarify that, you could add that.
Excuse me, I wouldn't do that anyway, because we're getting ready to replace our sidewalks. So I would come back 2 or 3 feet from the sidewalk because we're doing our street next year.
Okay.
New street sidewalks and they tear up everything completely, so I would start back.
Anything else to add, Mr. Temple?
Another thing.
Anyone else in the audience for this particular document? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Peters?
The only thing I would have would be to respond to Mr. Nelson's comment. Since they're not asking for any extension into that 2-foot easement area, I think we need to even address it. But that's my
It's totally up to whoever makes the motion
Okay.
to decide.
I just wanted to,
The city moves the sidewalk back there.
otherwise, I'm good.
Mr. King? Mr. Fuller? Mr. Small?
I'm good.
The only thing I would say is I definitely, I agree that there is a uniqueness here with the difference in height between the adjacent yard and a right to some level of privacy that infringes upon, so it does make it unique from the standpoint of condition 3, the strict application. So, all right, I will take a motion to admit the evidence into the record.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, and staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the unified development ordinance and comprehensive plan, testimony of the petitioner, city planning staff, and any remonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Mall. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. I'll take a motion on request number 1, which is to allow an increase in height to 6 feet for a front yard fence, whereas code limits height of front yard fences to 4 feet.
Chairman, I motion that we approve the request with the condition that the fence shall not exceed 6 feet upon installation or during the duration of its existence, so as to be in line with existing rear and side yard fence requirements as outlined in the Unified Development Ordinance Article 25, Section 10-03-.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Fuller, to approve with the one condition of staff report. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 2 is to allow for greater than 50% opacity so that the fence may properly function as a privacy fence intended by the homeowner.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request and with one condition stated.
Mr. King, second by Mr. Moll, to approve with one condition. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take that motion to direct the corporation's council draft the findings of fact.
Chairman, having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the Corporation Counsel's Office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance petition number BZA 2022-039. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and the evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a final decision and final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. Moll. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. You are welcome to proceed. You can work with the staff. We will take final action next meeting, but you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Temple. All right, next up is BZA 2022-040, development standards variance by petitioner Tim Harper, requesting relief from the following 2 sections of the Unified Development Ordinance. 1 is to allow a 6-foot fence in the front yard, and 2 is to allow greater than 50% opacity for a fence located in the front yard. All those wishing. Is everything in order for this?
The files are in order, the notices are in order, and they are in the file.
Certified copies of the comprehensive plan and the unified development ordinance have also been placed into the record.
Thank you. Now, those wishing to speak to this docket, please stand and be sworn in by our secretary.
Do you swear to perjury? Against you, the best of your knowledge. And thank you.
Whoever wishes to start, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tim Harper. I was at 495 Carroll Drive, Greenwood, Indiana.
My name is Lisa Harper. I live at 495 Carroll Drive, Greenwood, Indiana.
Thank you so much. Tell us why you're here.
We are here to get approval of the white vinyl fence. I have written a statement I would like to read.
Okay.
We have made significant amount of changes to this house since we bought it in 2011. We have spent tens of thousands of dollars to make the house not only our home, but functional and one of the nicest in Northern Park. Neighbors from all around Northern Park frequently still to this day come up to us when they see us and compliment us on how we have brought this house back to life. This house was one of the worst in Northern Park when we bought it. It is now one of the nicest in Northern Park, according to so many people in the neighborhood. One big thing about this fence is that it has been up for over a year and a half with 0 complaints about it. In addition, neighbors have said what a beautiful fence. I also have several letters here from neighbors. We have had the fence installed. When we had the fence installed, we placed it back 6 feet from the sidewalk. So it does not affect people from seeing the stop sign or oncoming vehicles. The primary reason for installing the vinyl fence is that we have a wood fence currently in the backyard, and it does not last as long as vinyl, so we chose the vinyl. Another reason is that 2 out of our 3 bedroom windows are on that side of the house, which, since we have a corner lot, they consider the side of the house the front yard. So we are trying to prevent people from seeing our bedrooms just for privacy. Another thing I want to mention is the reason for the double fencing. We got the chain fence in 2011, and because we put the vinyl fence 6 feet we wanted to still connect to our chain fence, so we connected the vinyl to our chain fence to keep our front yard fenced in. For the safety of our pets, which we have 3 dogs and 2 cats of, we really want to keep both fences up. That way, if for some reason the vinyl would break, because, you know, vinyl is flimsy, our pets would still be contained and safe, as well as keeping the vinyl fence from being damaged by past fires or vandalism in the neighborhood. So we come to you guys today to respectfully ask you all to let us delete it as is. We really thought long and hard about the city's suggestion. The chain fence is not in any violation of any code and has been up since 2011. We don't understand why it's even being suggested. For our safety and pet safety, we respectfully ask that you all please let us keep both fences the way they are, as both have been up for quite a while. We appreciate you all listening today, and we hope to work with you to make a decision today. I also have pictures of how far we've come with the house.
Okay.
And then the neighbors' letters.
Bring them right here and we'll take a look at them. Thank you. Appreciate it.
To be honest, we really don't have the money for any additional changes in this fencing. This has been a rough year for us, and they've been up for a long time with 0 complaints, multiple great letters from all the neighbors around us.
Bear with me 1 second as I just
Mhm.
take a quick look here.
I also have this, it shows from Google Maps, it shows 6 feet. Because in the staff report, it said something about 4 feet. It's 6 feet from the sidewalk,
Okay,
if you want to see that. And then this is additional fencing in the area that is further out than ours.
thank you. Do you have your statements of reasons, your statutory criteria? We'll
Yes, I do.
walk through those as you heard us do with the others. First of all, I guess, thank you so much for the care you've taken, and the improvements you've made and what you're trying to do. So I want you to know that it's appreciated by us,
Thank
whether
you.
it's by me from the board. Let's start with variance number 1, the increase of the fence height from 4 feet to 6 feet. Number 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because.
Several other neighbors have the same fencing situation. We have placed our fence 6 feet from the sidewalk. That's where it says 4. So people can see all traffic signs and any vehicles approaching. 200 East Broadway was approved for a 6-foot fence that sits out further than ours. This fence has been up for years and a bunch of neighbors love this fence and told us it was a nice improvement and will increase the property value.
Okay, number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
Our fence will not negatively affect our neighbors. It is a beautiful white vinyl fence. We have received tons of compliments about it.
And then 3, the strict application of terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because.
The layout of our house on a corner lot makes 2 of our bedrooms visible from Marcy Lane without a 6-foot tall privacy fence.
And then this structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation.
Not applicable.
Yep, not applicable. Okay. And then for number 2, the increase of the opacity from 50 to 100%. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because, and I think your answer is.
It's
the
exactly,
same,
yeah.
yes. And the same for number 2, which is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. It's the same as the previous answer.
Yes, but it looks like the staff said, according to aerial photos, the white vinyl fence was installed sometime in 2021. The chain fence has been up since before 2016. It was installed in 2011.
Both fences.
The chain fence was installed in 2011. The vinyl fence was installed 2020 to 2021.
Okay, thank you. And then the same thing, the strict application terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in use of property, again, because of the corner lot and the two bedrooms visible, so.
Because of the bedroom, the view of the bedroom front, both bedrooms.
Mr. Nelson, staff's comments and findings?
Yes, staff has no issue with this. They are on a corner lot, which is it makes the lot peculiar to other lots where they actually have two front yards. So a lot of that side yard is considered a front yard, which would require a 4-foot fence instead of a 6-foot fence. This was brought up about a year ago when they came through with their first variance, and it was understood that it would come back for a variance at a later date after the garage variance. The reason it came up is because it was actually constructed to be 12 feet tall, which requires additional building code and state law to go through. They've reduced the height from 12 foot, but it's just the 6-foot vinyl fence that they're referring to. We have no issues with it. We think it is a very nice looking fence and definitely adds to that property. So we have we're supportive of their petition. We do think they have a unique property. And we did have one recommendation for a condition that the part of the fence that overlaps with the existing chain link fence be removed. It would still have the remaining chain link fence, just not the part that overlaps with the vinyl fence. This would help that come further into compliance, since that is right up against the sidewalk, and it's also chain link and not a coated chain link. So just the removal of that would be our one condition that we recommend.
And you heard testimony today after that they would like to keep that in place, and what are your thoughts after hearing that?
We do have a diagram. If you have the staff report, the last page, we did a photo of the portion we asked to remove. We weren't asking for the entire chain link fence to be removed, just the small portion that overlaps with it. My recommendation would stay the same. If it is up to you whether or not you would like to add that condition to your decision.
Okay. Yeah, it's this section here that we're talking about. Wait, yeah, is it the whole? Is it
The
this whole
vinyl.
side that we're talking about removing, or is just a smaller section somewhere?
There's a whole
This whole-
It's yes.
So the whole side.
Okay,
It extends to the front yard though.
But opening that will, if any dogs get through the vinyl with it being flimsy and the wind's already shaking the vinyl, if my dogs get through there, there's an escape route for them. And there's a secure.
Yes, sure. People walk their dog down a stall, if their dog gets a little out of hand, it jumps on one side of the fence, my dog goes on the other side of the fence, there's a security issue there. With the fence, but to be a double fence there is more safer.
And then we never had a 12-foot fence. I don't understand that comment.
That was a fence that was in the back that.
We was blocking a security camera that with
Yeah, we-
fencing on the wood fence for a while, but they told us to take it
Yeah,
down.
we
and
took
immediately
it
took
down,
it down.
so that's in the draft.
and yeah, that's not a
Yeah.
factor here tonight
Yeah.
at this point, so. Okay, any final comments before I close public? hearing?
If I was going to move that fence, if that fence needs to be removed in that area where the white fence is, I would want to replace another fence there, and this was 2 feet from the front sidewalk. Right now, it's 1 foot away from the sidewalk. If I would remove that, I would want to put up a new fence, put a new black fence, premium fence, nice fence, like a white fence, very nice, and put it 2 feet back from the sidewalk, which would be up the code.
Okay,
If I was to remove it, I would want to do that.
But we hope to not to, because it's been up since 2011.
sure. And the expense of doing it. Okay. Any other comments? Anyone wish to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. I'll open it up to the board. Ms. Peters?
I guess my question to the staff is, was the chain link fix when it was installed, okay, allowed under code? Back in 2011.
I would have to check to see if it was. I can't make a confident statement with that.
I was trying to determine what the reality of why it would need to be removed. If it was in code before and they haven't changed that, then it's still in code.
And there's no code against the double fencing, is there?
No, we don't have a code against double fencing. Now we do have requirements that chain link is coded. And that it's 2 feet away from a sidewalk.
If it was in code in 2011, then that would be the issue.
Right, it'd be I assume it'd be grandfathered in.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So if you remove this, go ahead.
If it was,
If it was
yes,
grandfathered in, then,
it was removed, then it would need to follow current code.
For the whole,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's all the way around.
So if we remove part of it, that's the whole thing.
Mr. King?
I would,
Just solve that.
I wouldn't interpret it that way, that you would need to remove like that if you're removing a section.
It's just the new section would have to be a different type of fence, chain link, have to be a coated chain link, and it'd have to be closer to, further away from the sidewalk.
Yeah, if they were going to do 2 rows of fencing to potentially stop a dog from getting through a 6-foot vinyl fence and then through another fence. Yeah, if they were going to reinstall one, it would need to meet our current code. I guess the intent was to avoid the double fence.
Mr. Fuller?
Nope.
Mr. Small?
I'm good.
I have no further comments. I think it's definitely a unique situation. The two front yards as opposed to a side yard. So with that, I will take a motion to adopt everything in the evidence.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, and staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of unified development ordinance and comprehensive plan, testimony of petitioner, city planning staff, meeting demonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and include the testimony of those present this evening.
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Mole. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Take a motion on request number 1, which is to allow a 6-foot fence in a front yard.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve their request for the fence in the front yard and waiving the staff's conditions.
So a motion to approve with no conditions.
No conditions.
Second,
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Request number 2, to allow greater than 50% opacity for a fence located in a front yard.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve their request with no conditions.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King to approve with no conditions, second by Mr. Fuller. All those in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Motion to direct the corporation's counsel to draft written findings of fact.
Chairman, I would consider the statutory criteria, move that we direct the Corporation Counsel's Office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance petition presented in variance petition number BZA 2022-040. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and the evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as a final decision, final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Moore. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. You're going to move ahead or to keep things as is, I
Thank you
suppose.
so
is the
much.
thing there. And we will take final action in a couple of weeks. Thank you
very
for
much.
taking care of the property. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, any new business from the floor? Seeing none, any announcements?
Sir. I will be in attendance. Do we have things on the agenda for the 28th?
We do.
Okay, I will be in attendance virtually. Sad to say, this is my last in-person meeting. And so I'll be retired from meetings at the end of the year. So enjoyable, and I appreciate it.
Soon to be resident of sunny North Carolina.
North Carolina.
We appreciate all the time you've spent the last few years, and really been a pleasure having you on board. So,
Been nice. Appreciate it. Thank you.
any other announcements?
Thank you for your service to Greenwood Tribe.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Seeing none, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Stop the recording.